today is a warm-up. Because it's been a while since we've done an abstract. So we need to get back into that. I think after putting the course together, it did take a lot of creative energy and I was just tired. So now we're back. We'll put the warm-up skills to use. And I'm mixing up Indigo by Winsor and Newton. So this tiny little tube here. I really love this colour. It is a great blend of 3 different pigments. So it's got PBK6, PV19 and PB15, and I like how it throws the blue quite a lot. Alright. I'm going to do a big one today. No, I'm not. A small one. I think I'm done with that already. I go through in depth about abstract painting in my watercolor course. Keturah.com. Just trying to ease my way into painting after creating the course. It took a lot of creative energy. So I think that calls for a bit of a calmer painting session this week. So using handmade gold paint. It has a different texture to regular watercolor, and it requires a different amount of water. It's hard to see on the cameras at the moment, but the sparkle on it is quite lovely. And can lift the whole piece. I haven't done the abstracts for quite some time, so it's taking me a little bit more to get into the groove than it normally would, I guess. It's always lovely just to paint without worrying if it looks good. I think that's the definition of a good paint session. You just did it because you wanted to. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to leave that as is. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to see the sparkle, but it's definitely there. So I made some, I haven't photographed them yet. Not all of them will go on the website. Made some tiny landscapes. I don't like that one, so that one's not going on the website. I haven't decided with this one. I'm not sure. I think it's a no. This one's definitely a yes. This one is just beautiful. That sparkle is so subtle. I don't even know if you can see it on camera. So that's a yes. This one is a yes. I like the two little people in the boat. I think that's super cute. This one's a yes, because I always like the, I mean, look at the sparkle on this thing. Isn't it delightful? Not sure if you can see it. This one's a yes, I like this. Again, can't see the sparkle very well on camera, but it's very cool. So is this one. I like them all. Very cool. This one feels like snow. Very much so. This one is like the Alps. Very cute. I like it a lot. Okay. I'm going to, while that dries, let's do a little bit of playing with ink. Very cool. Thank you. What I like doing is I like drawing with pen and ink. I always feel like it's a relaxing way to spend time. Go over this in my course, how important it is just to spend time just with no other distractions. I don't have music on. It's because sometimes it's just nice just to create without the stimulus, I guess. So I'm using carbon platinum ink. It's waterproof, that's why I like it. It tends to feather on this kind of paper. I've got 100% watercolor paper, but it's a cheaper variety. So the feathering is quite pronounced. It's a fine nib, but you're thinking, why are you colouring with a fine nib? I find it relaxing. I like doing it. I once made a painting and a drawing that was 70 centimeters by 55, all with this fine nib pen. It took months, but it was great. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I find it's a very relaxing thing to do. And watercolors, it's a nice medium to use, mainly because you can go both ways. You can control it, but some of the beauty comes from the way you don't control it, as you know. Having that balance is a really nice thing. I guess for me, the landscapes, that's a way of controlling the colour to go in a certain way, the way that I want it to, so that it represents the feeling of a place, right? But then the abstracts kind of come out as an interpretation of letting the colour do what it wants and relaxing into the process, which is also a lovely thing to do. It's been really nice actually sharing a lot of my work. Obviously some very lovely feedback. It's not why you do it, of course. It's never about the feedback. It's always about how it makes you feel. Doesn't actually take too long to colour in, but the process of doing it is quite nice. So I'd already had an idea after my course was finished, because I've drawn hundreds of abstracts, and I have quite a collection of them actually. Quite a collection. My next project was to digitize them, which I've done some already. They're on my website as colouring in pages, just because, yeah, as we all know, colouring in is also very relaxing. I am going to do like paint along sessions with those abstracts, mainly because I haven't coloured a huge amount of them. So what I did, a few years ago we were moving from one place to another, as you do. That's what moving is. And as a goodbye, I drew a lot of abstract drawings that before I started colouring them with watercolour, I scanned them, so I had a digital copy, because all of the originals I gave away, just to the people that we were leaving behind, just as, you know, highlighting a number of different things. But I've never regretted getting rid of original paintings or drawings. Isn't that interesting? It's never been something that I need to hold on to this. It's never been like that. So I had all the digitized or the scanned drawings, but when I opened them up, I realized, because they were done on watercolor paper originally, they had that feathering of the edges just like this. And when it comes to colouring them in, I find that just a little bit annoying. especially when it's not an original. I don't know what it is. So I kind of went through the process, which was also a lovely thing to do. I do it. I'm not a person that can sit down and do only one thing at a time. Like, I can't just sit and watch TV. I have to do something with my hands. So on my tablet, I got all those scans and I redrew them. I went over each outline, each line, and just tidied it up so it was a lot cleaner. And so what I'll do with that is then I'll print them on watercolor paper, and then I'm going to color them in again. And my coloring skills have changed, they've gotten better, and that's just practice. And so I thought that would be a really nice activity to do, just colouring in those colouring sheets and experimenting with different colour palettes, and those that want to colour along or follow along, then those sheets will be available as well on my website, which is a nice thing as well. I think that's like a nice thing to share. Been asked a lot lately about how I feel about AI art, which is art that is created just by someone telling a computer what they want, and the computer spitting it out based on a heap of data that's been fed to it. Honestly, I haven't thought much about it. And the reason for it is I'm always going to create. What other people do with that creativity, it doesn't seem to bother me very much. Are they going to use my stuff? Probably. I think that's one of the reasons I kind of went with prints as well. I went with not doing prints, sorry. Because I'll always be able to create it then. I like that. That's very simple but very cute. Didn't take me that long to colour in. Very simple, very small. And that's okay. Like, it's a lovely thing to do. To just have a very simple, very easy, small drawing. I like it. And it was enough time for this to dry. Oh, you know what? It's not fully dry. That's still wet. That's still wet, and that's still wet. Isn't that amazing? That was enough time passed, I thought. Let's try and get some airflow. Just got this big brush. I'm just waving it over the top quickly to try and dry off that paint. Because if I close the book, then I'm going to get marks on the other page. And, you know, that's fine. It's part of a sketchbook. But if I'm patient, I can avoid that. I get quite a few comments saying, just use a hairdryer. And that's true. But it kind of defeats the purpose of spending the time just being patient with something, I guess. I mean, essentially, what I'm doing now is a hairdryer. It's just not electrified. So let's go through a couple of supplies. I've never tried Daniel Smith paints before. I'm a Winsor & Newton. That's my go-to. So I don't think I'll ever replace indigo with any other brand. I've tried other brands. I don't like their colours. Winsor & Newton indigo for me, 100% of the way. But I noticed that these particular colours, which I had kind of run out of in my palette, were exactly the same pigment number as my Winsor & Newton. So my theory, which I'm pretty sure I'm right, is that there would be no difference in colour with the Daniel Smith compared to the Winsor Newton. Maybe some of the properties of the paint will be slightly different, but the colour will be the same. And I figure the way I use colour, it's not going to matter whether the properties aren't quite the same. But something very interesting that I found was this colour, Lunar Black. I don't paint with black, hardly at all, ever. But why I got this is because I saw that it did something very interesting reaction-wise when it came to painting a landscape. So I'm going to try that now and bring you along for the ride, because I think we can get some pretty amazing abstract effects if we try and mimic that. So I'm just going to tape up sections here. And what that does is if there's enough water, because pigment is essentially made up of powder, and due to the size of the powder in this particular paint, once water hits it, it kind of has a little bit of a freak out and thinks, oh, I've got all this place to run. Oh, see, I wasn't patient. And it's stained, and that side too. Oh well, that's a sketchbook for you, isn't it? I'm just going to have to run with that. So what I'm going to do, sorry about that, is I'm going to paint an underpainting that's going to be quite a lot of water. And I'm just going to see how it goes. So quite a heavy pinky red. I'm going to make that quite saturated, and there's quite a bit of water on there. I'm rinsing off my brush, and I will go with a tiny bit of orange just here, and then I'm going to change over to the blue. So I'm going to go with a phthalo blue, something quite bright and delightful. It's because I want to see the reactions. So there's still quite a lot of pigment and stuff like that. Then I'm getting the lamp black, and I'm just going to use it straight from the tube. Okay, it's quite a sticky black paint. I've got a very kind of wet brush, and you can see how much I'm pulling off. I'm going to pop that straight over the top. Is that going to let me do it? It is. Lovely. There's a lot of paint on there. Is it doing it already? It is. Now it's just time. Now I think on the camera that just renders as being just black. But I can see already with the water that black pigment is starting to separate, and I'm getting little shines of the blue and the pink from underneath. I'm told this method takes time because you need to allow time to let that lunar black pigment kind of disperse in the water. So I've cleaned off my brush, and I'm going to pick up some clean water just at the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to drop it in just to try and encourage a little bit more dispersion of the pigment, if it lets me. I'm going to just roll it around and see. Yeah, there we go. It's going to be a little bit. Yeah, you can see how this one is a slower process. That it takes a bit of water for this process to work. Because I've never used this pigment before, I'm quite happy to spend this time just to experiment and see if it works or if it doesn't. It's fun. Well, that's there. Might just again go in underneath with a bit of play. Sessions like these, they're needed as part of like a daily practice, I feel. And in my watercolor course that's on my website, there's about 9 hours of instruction. We go through all of this. We go through abstracts, we go through landscapes, we go through techniques, portraits, which is what I'm going to do next. That's why I sat down to paint today. I've got a couple of portraits drawn out that I want to colour. And we just go through the reasons why some things work, some things don't, but mainly it's talking about the process of painting. So if you've ever wanted to paint and you're like, I don't know where to start, or if you do know where to start, you're already painting heaps. There's some really good tips and techniques and I guess life lessons that I've learned along the way with the painting. Just how to, especially when it comes to abstract, how to let go and have that free form. So most of the work I don't use the colour that granulates very much. So it's kind of been interesting working with this lamp black to see how much it can change. So I'm going to add a little bit more just to play in this session here, just to see what it will do. Just dropping in some gold pigment as well. The good thing about the gold is that it's also kind of a thicker pigment, and so it makes interesting shapes. Very nice. There's a little bit of separation happening with the black there. Try try and encourage it a little bit more and see if I can make it happen. But maybe we need some more pigment. Maybe. Hard to say. So I'm going to do something a little bit similar with the Moon Glow pigment. So I'm going to try and get as much colour, I guess, as I can. And I'm mixing up a PV19 with a Viridian. So it's this beautiful turquoise colour, which is absolutely stunning. Beautiful, beautiful colour. This gorgeous colour. And so much moon glow. Let's see if we can make this happen. This is where playing is important, because you don't know how things are going to react with each other, colours. And you want to give it the experimentation it needs in order to react. And just play and paint for fun. That's what we used to do as kids. We used to just paint. Never cared whether it looked any good. And it was joyful. That's what you want. You want that back. Let's off my brush and let's see if we can get some. Play around with, move the pigment, move the water. In my course, we definitely go to to landscapes like these, which are very intuitive. Rinsing off the brush, wipe off the excess. There's a lot of paint in that brush. We go through landscapes, we talk about pigments, how they work. It's a beautiful little bleed that's happened down there. That's really lovely. So that was on its own. I still don't have a huge amount of experience with this pigment in order to make it like move how I want. Still experimenting with that, so I'm guessing that's when like the more experiments need to happen in order for that to take place. So I'm kind of going for a bit of an aurora feel with this, with the pigments, just the waves dancing. If you've ever seen an aurora, it's just a very incredible phenomena to watch. Such a humbling experience. That's very cool. I like how that's turned out. It's been a really nice little experiment, this one. Unplanned in its execution, but composition I mean. But happy with the result. Very interesting. You can see now it is definitely time. See how this one, it has broken up, the pigment has broken up, and you're seeing glimpses of the colour underneath that we put down first, and that's quite cool. That's a good little phenomenon to think about and look at. Brush. See, a lot of the extra water has spilled over. That's okay, that's what it's called a sketchbook for a reason, because it doesn't matter if the paint runs or anything like that. a couple of, yeah, good little experiments for the day. I still want to do my portraits though, but now I've made that very sloppy. I'm going to have to wait for it to dry, which might take us a while. But we can see like the experimenting with the pigments is such a good thing, because you just don't know what reaction you're going to get. You don't know what effects are going to come from it. And I teach all of that in my watercolor class. Just about letting go and making it something that's a joy to paint, I guess. So I think we might leave the portraits for today. I don't think we need to do them. I'm quite happy just to leave that session there. That's the drawings, the faces that I'm looking at. These were the ones that I wanted to do today, but I'll leave them for another day. Have to clean up some of the lines in them and then, yeah, get to painting. I did paint, what was the other portrait? Yeah, I painted her in the other day. Not 100% pleased with how she is. She looks a bit flat, but there's still something to do there. Pleased with her. That was an interesting study, so I liked that. I want to try drawing from a picture at some point today, so I might do that. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.